Good afternoon. Welcome to the chat. After the chat, the party. After the party for USA Biz Party. I am your host, Anna Scheller, and I'm very excited that Ted Rubin will be joining me. He's not in the room yet, but he'll be here just as soon as oh, there he is. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let me introduce the guest of honor today. He's a speaker, writer, social media strategist, CMO. I understand he's good looking. We'll find out real soon. He also says he's a provocateur. Help me welcome to the stage, Mr. Ted Rubin.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Ted?
And just for reference sake, science is real. Who would figure? Go figure.
I know. Well, everybody has troubles with some major concepts these days.
How scary is it that you have to say that these days?
Yeah.
Literally, I have this lawn sign because I don't have a lawn that I can put things on. I live in a condo, and I have it in my car window. And what amazes me is how many people walk by and point at it and like make a face like, why do you post that? I'm like, well, because, those vaccines are out there. We want to make sure people start using them, and COVID actually exists. How you guys doing?
Well, let's see who we've got in the house. So if you are here, please say hello. I know for sure we've got one. So if you're on live with us, please say hi. Tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're on the replay, then let us know also, because I look at those things and I say hello back. So we're excited to have you here. We're excited to have you, Ted. Lots of great conversation in the chat. Thanks for popping in when you could. I know you had some other things going on.
Yeah, I apologize for that, but I was actually at a doctor's appointment, and I tried to like pull out my phone when I could and just jump in with something. But my main goal was to get home for this. Hold on one second. I need to put a fan on in here just because it's a little bit warm. So just bear with me 1 second.
Sure.
Or just go on without me.
Well, it's all about relationship, right? It's all about relationship. So I love the quote on your website, and it's one of my favorite quotes too. And it is that life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but about learning how to dance in the rain. Why did you choose that for your, I guess, philosophy of life?
Well, mainly it's just because nothing goes as planned. And I was just having this conversation, and it was with a 24-year-old who thinks like she's got her whole life planned out. And I was just talking about it happened. I was talking about reinvention. And for me, life's just been all about reinvention. I mean, I don't know about everybody here, but I had lots of plans when I was in my teens and 20s. And I would say that almost none of it has come true. In a micro perspective. Obviously, in a macro perspective, thank God I'm alive, I'm healthy. That came true. I'm economically viable and financially healthy. That came true. But I'm definitely nowhere near or doing what I expected to be doing. So, that quote, that quote was shared with me years and years ago. And it was just something that really rung true because as a young person or in different points in my life, I'm sure we've all gone through this. I'd say, oh, well, let me just wait until I'm ready to do that. Or, let me wait till I'm a little bit better before I try that. Or, I don't really want to do that until I have this much money or I have this much in finances, or I've had kids, or I've gotten married, or oh my God, I'm going through a hard time. It's not a good time for that. I mean, how many people start eating more and get out of shape when things aren't going well in their life, or stop exercising? And I just love that quote. Life's not about waiting for the storm to pass, because I want to tell you something, and I'm sure most people here anywhere near my age can verify, it never stops storming. The storm never passes, because if it's not in your life, it's part of my no let up philosophy, because there's no let up in life. Things might be going well for you, but there are friends, there are relatives, there are family, there are other people in the world. Right now, we have so many people going without food and having food insecurity that people are just ignoring. because most people, even in middle to upper classes, are doing great. And if you have a 401k, and unlike me, where I divested of everything because I still believe there's going to be a crash, you made lots of money in the market, and all the big companies kept most of their people on, but you're not recognizing that there are millions of people out there that don't know where the next meal is coming from. So, for me, no let up, follow the path, dancing in the rain, all go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I would add that it's in the storm that the opportunities are there. It's in the storm that we have the opportunities that we need to live life to the full. I mean, I'm reminded of the Jewish Passover, where they actually have a place in their ceremony. They're celebrating the Passover, but they actually take drops of wine out of their cup, or grape juice, to lessen their joy because of the suffering that had to happen for them to be able to be freed from Egypt. And so it's that we can enjoy life, but we're not divorced or are in any way not involved in the suffering of other people. And there we have the opportunity, which really comes to the place of relationships. So how did you come up with this relationship marketing philosophy? Because it almost sounds like a little catchphrase. Sorry.
Well, it is a catchphrase. That's the beauty of catchphrases. They become part of your branding. So for me, relationships have always been a part of everything I've ever done. I mean, since I was a kid, every school I went to, every camp I went to, every activity I did, every job I ever had, even if it was something that I created, because I was very entrepreneurial as a kid. I always took relationships out of it. It was something stressed by my parents, and my dad brought me up with the attitude of do for others without expectation of anything directly in return. It's hard to explain that to a kid, like, well, what am I getting? And that you'll get something because you'll build a reputation. I like to say that a brand or a business is what you do, but a reputation is what people remember and share. And when you build a reputation, you'll find that the value is astronomical. And so I was kind of always a relationship marketer. And even back in my first jobs out of college, I was in the investment business for over 10 years. I was in the brokerage business, and I sold, and I always had less accounts than the other most successful guys in the office, because they were all about getting as many accounts as they could. I would always nurture and build strong relationships. I'm still friendly with some of those people from back in the 80s that I met via the jobs I did when I was actually selling them something. And when the market crashed, a lot of them lost money, and they're still my friends. So, to me, it was just something that was always a part of what I did. So if you want to fast forward to where return on relationship came from for me, I was at Elf Cosmetics. I was the CMO. I was brought into a company that had zero marketing budget. I was told that as soon as I joined. They brought me in because not only was I a marketer, but I had a sales background, and they wanted a selling CMO. And at the time, they were strictly online. They were doing about $5 million in business. It was dollar cosmetics, or inexpensive cosmetics. So yeah, a lot of the $5 million came from just the sector they were in. And I made a very early on decision within my first 30 days there. And this was back in 2008, when social media was first starting to scale, that we needed to make a move into social media. It was the only place I could cost effectively, I thought, build an audience. And I truth be told, that's the way I thought of it. Fortunately, I worked with Seth Godin for a lot of years, and I got the marketing first, sales second kind of mentality. And I wanted to build an audience because I knew once people understood who we were, what we were producing, what our product was, and if I used this new tool called social media where other people could share how much they loved our product, that I thought it would grow the business. So I jumped in I shut down what we had at the time, which was a MySpace page, and an early on Facebook page, and I revamped the whole kind of image of what I wanted to do. I reached out. I was introduced by a guy named Roger Hollander, who is still a dear friend, who I knew through the CMO Club. I was one of the first 9 members of the CMO Club.
Wow.
And he introduced me to a guy named Oz Sultan. Oz is kind of in a very different space right now. He's very involved in politics, but at the time he was one of the early adopters of social, especially from a technology and web development side. And he helped me come up with this idea of something called Ask Elf. and start a whole site where we could feature all the content being created about eyeslipsface.com. And YouTube is still kind of the same. It's a lot more searchable now than it was then, but YouTube's like a spider web. Like I would search our product and I'd find, there are 10 videos. And then I'd click on a video and it would show me 20 more. And by the time I was done with this over one long weekend, I had found like 400 videos that were created by customers about our product. Almost every last one of them were positive, and they were crappy videos. But they were authentic. They were real. They were made by customers. They weren't solicited. And when I asked people in the company about videos, they're like, "Oh yeah, there's about 10 out there." I'm like, "No, there's probably like almost 1,000 out there." I've only discovered 400 so far, and we built one of the first websites that sucked in anytime our brand was mentioned, and we featured the content, and the referral traffic from that was astronomical and way better than the expensive videos we were creating in studio, which were worthwhile from a branding perspective, but weren't getting the reach that we were getting with these. And I started thinking about the relationships we were building. I was also fortunate at the time. I met my current business partner back then, John Andrews, who was at Walmart at the time, running their program called Walmart Moms. And he was just about to found Collective Bias, which we became partners in a few years later. And we were both, he was building a platform at Walmart that used mom bloggers to spread information, to create content, to talk about products. And I was doing the same thing without knowing he was doing it at Elf, because I had just discovered this amazing sector in the blogging community that were passionate about products, passionate about helping. I was fortunate it was early on, so a lot of them weren't getting paid. They were thrilled to get free makeup. And again, the relationship played in, and I would say, "Listen, I don't have a budget to pay you for this." They go, "Hey, you've been doing stuff for us. You've been supporting us. You've been sharing our content." I also set up on another site with Elf where we shared content that wasn't about makeup, coming from the people that were our advocates. And they just started supporting me, and I started talking about this, and I was very, very protective of our social media presence. I didn't want it marketed to, and the company I was at were real direct marketers. We had an amazing guy running our email marketing named Alan Levy, who has a company called SellUp. He's actually one of my long-term relationships who introduced me to Elf, and he was doing an amazing job, and they all wanted access. Like, "Oh my God, you got all these people on Facebook and on this new thing called Twitter," which was pretty new back then. When can we send them coupon codes? When can we discount to them? I'm like, "You can't touch them. They're mine. Like, I own them." And we had fights about it. And one day, the two owners, who were father and son, Joey Shama and his dad, they called me in to talk about what's going on. And they're asking me, "Well, what's the ROI? Like, what money are we making here?" And I looked at them, and I had been thinking about this concept of return on relationship. And I just looked at them right in the face without even thinking twice. And I said, "Guys, it's not just about ROI. Of course, it is in the end game. But right now, as we're building community, as we're building relationships, as we're building an audience, it's about return on relationship." And, I come from a sales background, which is, if you haven't been formally trained in sales, you make your sales statement and you shut up. Matter of fact, there's this great old tape where a sales trainer will say, "Okay, so here's your closing line," and then shut up, because the next person that talks loses. And anybody out there are salespeople and they've never tried this, try it. It's remarkable. I've used it throughout my career when you're really trying to close someone. So I just shut up, and I just sat there waiting to see what they were going to say. By the way, fully expecting them to go, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, who cares about relationships?" These guys were dollar and cents guys all the way. Mm-hmm. But remember, I had no marketing budget. I was paying myself. I was paying one person who was like somewhat of a manager. And then I had interns that I was paying $10 an hour to. And they look at me and they go, return on relationship. We want to hear more about that. And inside I'm panicking because I don't have a lot more to say. This is 2009, January 2009. And luckily they said, "Well, listen, we've got another meeting in about 3 or 4 minutes. So how about we get back together next week and we talk about this?" And I'm like, thank God. Inside, outside I'm going, "That's a great idea. I've got a lot to say about it." Inside I'm going, thank God. And I step out and I immediately tweet out, I believe from my BlackBerry at the time. Yes, it was. I tweet out, "It's not just about ROI. It's about ROR, return on relationship." And at the time, I was one of the most followed CMOs on Twitter. I had 2,000 followers. This is early January 2009. And I must have gotten 20 retweets, responses. Oh my God, return on relationship. That's brilliant. That's great, blah, blah, blah. And I started expanding on it. And I started tweeting about it. And I started using the hashtag ROR. You'll know now the hashtag I use is RONR. So if you don't mind, great story, great marketing story behind that. So sure. I started using the hashtag ROR, and I tweet a lot. I don't tweet as much as I used to now because there's so many damn different platforms. But back then, Twitter was my almost primary platform, and I was determined to stay the #1 followed CMO on Twitter. So I was incredibly active, and I start getting this outreach from these guys at Ruby on Rails, the developers, and they're like, "Dude, you're hijacking our hashtag. Like, you got to stop using ROR. We own that." And I did a little quick research and what I had already known. And I'm like, well, you can't own a hashtag, but I have 2 rules in life. One is be good to people, if you can. You can't always, but if you can, so it might be better. And number 2 is don't mess with guys that can hack into your bank account. Okay, this is crucial, everybody. Don't mess with guys that can hack into your bank account, your social security number, your taxes. It's just a bad idea. Who can shut down your website? You don't want to mess with these guys. So I said to them, look, guys, I won't use it anymore. And I thought, like, what am I going to do? I need another hashtag. And I made a classic marketer's error, one that I try to tell people, brands and marketers not to do. Never make a decision without talking to your audience, without understanding how they, don't just look at something from your view, because we have a very different perspective than the people who necessarily buy our products or follow us. Like they interpret things differently. And instead of asking, I just created a hashtag, which made total sense to me. RON on R, return on relationship. So I start using it, and it's getting picked up, and I'm using it all over the place for months now. And little by little, I keep getting these weird inquiries about Ron and who's Ron. And I'm too busy to really pay attention. And finally, I start, I'm really paying attention. And like, I show up at an event, and someone goes, so is your name Ted or is it Ron? Now, remember, my name is Ted Rubin. So like, why isn't it Ted R, your hashtag? Why is it Ron R? And I'm like, it's not Ron. It's return on relationship. So now I start reaching out to people all over social saying, what did you guys think? Oh, we just thought it was some Ron thing, or there's something that Ron stood for something. I'm like, it's return on relationship. So now I'm thinking maybe I got to change it. But this time I learned my lesson. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. You know what they say, first time you make the mistake, it's on you. It's a mistake. After that, it's on you. I reached out to my audience and I said, what do you guys think? Like, do you have any ideas? Is there another hashtag I should use? Should I tell the Ruby on Rails guys to go to hell and use ROR? And to the last one, people said, no, keep R on R. It's gotten traction. People know what it is. Whether or not they understand its return on relationship, they associate it with you. They associate it with ELF. And it makes for a great marketing story when you can tell people about it. So that was, by the way, remember, that was 11 years ago. So I've used it ever since. But what ended up happening was I went back in, I explained this to these guys. They totally got it. Because also, remember, I was also fortunate. They were seeing sales grow. And they couldn't, like, it wasn't necessarily growing where they could say, oh, it's not because of you, it's because of ads, or it's not because of you, it's because of our emails. They saw the referral traffic growing exponentially from social. Now, it was a fraction of the rest of what we were doing. But when you looked at it from a growth aspect, and this is what I'll urge people to measure what you're doing and how it's growing. Don't measure it next to what you used to do or next to the rest of your marketing. Give it time to grow. And what they saw was that month to month, it was growing by leaps and bounds. It was still, again, only maybe a few percentage points of our business, but over time, it grew to be a huge amount. I left the firm I left the company 2.5 years later. We had $50 million in annual sales, up 10 times. Now, part of that was we also got into Walmart as an inline brand. But how did that happen? They were pitching Walmart for years. Walmart loved us because mom bloggers loved us, because the social media was talking about us, not because of the sales that came there, but because our name kept coming on their radar, because of what they were searching and looking at and hearing about from all their advocates and all the people they talked to and all the people that were showing up going, how come you guys don't have ELF? And then we finally got a trial with them, only 600 stores. a Christmas trial. You get in November, you're done at the end of December. I got 400 blog posts written by bloggers with massive followings, written about our product being at Walmart, 5,000 tweets, thousands of Facebook posts. They were sold out of all 600 stores 3 weeks before Christmas.
Wow.
And because of that, come January, they signed a deal with Elf to be an inline, what's called an inline brand, which means we got shelf space, which very often you have to pay for, but in every single store in the country. Wow. So now I don't want to take away from the product that was created by the Shamas. I mean, it couldn't have happened. You don't do this without amazing product.
Right.
I also have to say that the customer service that they started well before I got there, but that they allowed me to integrate with social media, which they pushed back on a little bit in the beginning. But what I do at companies, or what I used to do, is I'd always make best friends with the head of customer service, regardless of what the company's policy was, because most often it's set into a separate silo, which is absolute stupidity, in my opinion. Customer service and marketing needs to work together, because you're out there saying how great your product is, and then 9 out of 10 times customer service is saying, sorry, we can't help you. So every time I go in a company, there's 2 people I buy gifts for within the first week: head of customer service and the chief technology officer, because I know I need the tech guy, and I know I need customer service to back up what I'm trying to do. Right. And what we had a policy of just anything that was wrong, we just replaced it, full order. Like, you had one product that came badly, we sent it all. Now, part of that was economics. Our shipping was way more expensive than our product. So it really cost us nothing to send it. We gave out product like crazy. I mean, I would show up at events, and I remember Jeff Pulver, who started the 140 conferences, was always annoyed that when I'd show up at a conference, all the women surrounded me. And I used to laugh, because I'm like, dude, it's not because I'm good looking. It's not even because I'm charming. It's because I got free makeup. I'd show up with a duffel bag of lip gloss. I mean, they'd go, oh, he's here and he's got a bag of stuff. I mean, it isn't that complicated. And that I was allowed to do because the company's cost structure on that was so remarkable. They were one of the first firms to manufacture successfully in China, because they ran their own factories. They didn't outsource it. So, so again, yes, I do take credit for a lot of the marketing and the ideas, but without a great product, without great customer service, without the proper support of ownership, it can't happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I read your book. R&R.
Oh, you did. I don't know if anybody's reading it anymore. It's nice to know someone is.
Good stuff. One of the things that you really advocate is blogging. You're a big advocate about blogging, really. And from what I'm reading in the book, and correct me if I'm wrong, you really see it as a cornerstone in relationship marketing. Could you comment on that?
Sure. Now, first of all, I wrote that book a while ago. In 2013. I still feel that way 100%, but it's not, it has morphed a bit. So that blogging can be LinkedIn publishing, that blogging can be Medium, but here's my take. Have your own property. Own something that's yours. I have a site. I have 2 sites, tedrubin.com and Return on Relationship, which is now ror.online. And I own those. One's on WordPress, one's on Squarespace. I own the URLs. No one can ever take that away from me. I store all the content there. Everything gets posted there. Facebook tomorrow, Zuckerberg could say, I had enough, and shut the platform down, or just say, you know what, I've changed my mind. You can't have access to all your old content because you're not creating enough. I want you creating more. Start creating it. So that's the real bedrock of the reason that I think it's crucial for you to have your own. The other side of it is it helps you develop your own brand and your own personality. My blog is tedrubin.com, but it has a lot of people don't recognize this, and sometimes they give me a hard time because I talk straight talk is my thing. But the name of my blog, if you go to tedrubin.com, look at the top header. It's called Straight Talk. That's what it's called since the day I started it. Why didn't I use straighttalk.com, which I didn't even check to see if it was available, because I didn't want it. Like, I shouldn't say I didn't want it. I probably should have bought it if I could, but I didn't want that to be the name of it, because I want my name recognized. I want to be Ted Rubin. And so for me, and the way that started is another good story. A very dear friend of mine, Dean Landsman, who was a great advisor of mine in my early days in marketing, was a real big supporter of what I did with Twitter. And one day he sits me down and he says, okay, you're doing a great job publishing and creating content with Twitter, but you need a blog. I'm like, what do you mean I need a blog? He's like, you need to have a blog. He goes, you got to write a little longer form content. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, I am not a natural writer, just so everybody knows. And you see how much I publish. I am not the guy you hire who you say, here's the topic, write us a post. I can't even do that myself. I can't even pick a topic and just write a post. I need to be passionate about it. I need to be thinking about it. Most of my blog posts come from comments I make on other people's blogs. In other words, they'll write something and I'll be like, oh my God, you're right on target. And then all of a sudden the words will start flowing. I take that comment, I put it into an email because I have a whole file of future blog posts. I give it a label. And then when I have a little time, I go back and I expand on it. Sometimes the comment is a blog post in itself. And when if I don't agree, same thing becomes content. So I'm looking at him at the time. I didn't have these kind of methods and shortcuts and tricks.
Yeah.
Dude, I love being able to write one sentence. Like, it's so great being able to write one sentence. And not only do I only have to write one sentence, because I can talk all day long, writing just doesn't come natural to me. I'm like, not only do I write one sentence, but people are patting me on the back for doing such a great job of getting across an idea in only 140 characters. I said, this is my dream. Twitter is manna from heaven. He's like, you got to start a blog. And so we did make a negotiation. He wanted me to start. So I'm a divorced dad, and I write a lot about that, and I'm passionate about that. And I had to struggle and fight to keep my daughters in my life. So the hashtag "This Dad Won't Quit" came from that. And then what this Dad Won't Quit has evolved into is the dad who will always love, because my daughters are in their 20s now. And if you still try to make it "This Dad Won't Quit," you push them away a lot by being a little bit too pushy. So I'm trying to evolve it not only as a branding, but in my own head, I'm trying to be better about it. So he was like, well, you need to have one about your personal life and one about your business. I said, how about I make one and I have these separate sections? So if you go to tedrubin.com, there's a divorced dad section, which was what I did to accommodate that. And then returnonrelationship.com, which, like I said, I'm using ROR.online now because it's a lot easier to remember. People would get the other one wrong, was my second one. But the real purpose of returnonrelationship.com is to feature other people's content. So I have stuff in there. I have stuff about return relationships so people understand it. But what I really use it for is every week I publish another blog, 99% of the time, that's somebody else's. I serendipitously pick a post, and then I send it out in every Wednesday. I have a newsletter called R&R newsletter, Return Relationship newsletter, and it goes out with somebody else's content in it to my 5,000 mailing list. And my content goes out on Sunday night. But that's what I developed it for. But to me, I own these. Again, no matter what someone shuts down, unless the internet shuts down, I still have them. And it allows me to build my brand. It allows me to create content regularly. And then what I've also found is that when you write blog posts, you get a huge amount of content. So my blog posts become links. They become Facebook posts. I post full content. I post paragraphs. I post sentences. Like I have more content than I could possibly publish at this point. Like, I am way behind. I have right now probably about 25 windows opened on my laptop of content of mine and other people's that I still need to publish. And then even when I publish one of my blog posts, I mean, when I feature it on Facebook or I feature it on LinkedIn, I'll then go back to it because there's lots of parts of it, because a lot of people don't click through to those blog posts.
Yeah,
so they don't read them. So I'll post them as paragraphs, in Seth Godin style of shorter content, so that what I've noticed is if I post a paragraph or even a whole post to Facebook written out, I will get vastly more comments and reading than I do for click-throughs to the blog or comments on the blog. Also, people don't comment on blogs very much, especially now, but they comment on Facebook without even thinking twice.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing on LinkedIn. So if you're looking to get feedback or you want people to write something, it's much more likely you'll get it in those places.
And blogs, too, are a place where you can start to build trust, because you can address more fully the issues and the concerns that people are having. And of course, my puppy, she wants to join us. but you're not going to join today. Nope. Sorry, baby. And well, here's one last question before we quit for the day. Although the blogging, the funny thing, go yes.
Yeah, just one last thing I want to say. The other
Sure.
great thing about having your own blog is that all your content's in one place. Facebook, go try to find something that you posted on Facebook or that you posted somewhere else. You go to your blog and you have sections. You got great search capabilities. It's really easy to find all your posts. I mean, I don't know about everybody else in the audience, but all the time, someone will ask me a question. I'll be like, damn, I wrote a post about that. And then I can just go and find it. And then all I got to do is cut and paste and send them the information rather than having to write it all out for them again. So I'm sorry I cut you off. I just wanted to add.
Oh, no. Good stuff. I mean, people are more interested in what you have to say than what I have to say, just letting you know.
Oh, probably not.
But one of the things I wanted to ask, so we were talking a lot about relationship, and that is that we build those relationships. And I think social media it's a great place to do it, but we've also misused social media in terms of only looking for the analytics, the hard analytics, like, clicks and how many followers I have, yada, 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 yada. So you talk about, what is it, looking people in the eye digitally.
Yes.
Can you expound on that? I know we really need to hear that.
Well, I'm going to expound on that, and then I'm going to also address what you just said about clicks and followers and stuff. So, looking people in the eye digitally is basically Dale Carnegie for the digital age. I'm going to tell you right now, the best social media book ever written. It wasn't written by me, and it wasn't written by any other social media pundits that you guys might think of. It was written in 1936, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's fun to read because it's a little kitschy. It was written a long time ago, and it uses commentary and words and things that we might not use anymore. And it was written at a time when maybe there were 100 people you'd meet, in your lifetime, maybe 200. Now you can meet that in a minute. So to me, it's more important than ever. But looking people in the eye digitally is doing what you do when you meet someone face to face. I mean, I don't know about you, but before I went on my first date, my mom was like, it wasn't my dad that gave me the best advice. It was my mom. She sat me down and she said, make sure you look at her, son. Don't look at who else is coming in the room. Don't look at what else is going on. Pay attention. Focus on what she's saying. Listen to what she's saying. Repeat back some of it. Make sure she knows that you're paying attention, that you care, that you give a damn. And most of us, again, before our first meetings, I mean, I like to tell a story of when my dad, when I had my first job. I got out of college. I was in a sales job. My job was to get appointments. My dad calls me up towards the end of the first week, and he says, so did you get an appointment? I said, yeah. He goes, when is it? I said, Thursday. He goes, what time? I said, 10 o'clock. He says, when are you going to get there? I said, I don't know, about 5 to 10. He goes, no, get there at 9 o'clock. Walk around the neighborhood. Remember, there was no social media. There wasn't any way to really find out this stuff. He goes, see what restaurants are in the neighborhood. What businesses are there? Just what the neighborhood's like. Go into the building. Look at the board and see what other companies are in there. Get to the office at least 20 minutes early and see if his or her assistant can let you into the office. And are there photos? Are there diplomas? Are they a grandma or grandfather? Do they love skiing? Do they play golf? Find points of emotional connection and talk about that. Don't talk about what you're there to sell. So what I found, and it just amazed me, is when social media started, this was like a bonanza for me. I mean, back in that day, I don't know if you remember microfiche? You had to go to the library and they would give you this reel and you could try to find old articles. And there was some corporate directories where you might find out the last job someone had. I mean, it was really difficult to research. So you really have to get there early and try to get something that was valuable from the environment, which, by the way, is still valuable and something I do on every appointment I go to. But now, there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Google, for God's sake. I mean, how many moron salespeople don't Google the person they're going to meet and the company before they go? I can't tell you how many consulting gigs I've been involved on where I've been brought as an advisor to a meeting. And the first question the salesman says to the person we're going to see is, so how long have you been here? Are you serious? like the question should have been, if you notice they were here for 15 years, you say, oh my God, you've been here for so many years, maybe you can give us, I'm sure you can give us a lot of insight into the company. Or if you see the person started 2 months ago, you can say, wow, I see you're new here. What can we do to support you? I mean, and so I call that looking people in the eye digitally, because now you can do it digitally. But, go to their Facebook page. I mean, even when friends who I haven't spoken to in a while, text me and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you later. Or even if I see the phone ringing, I immediately go to their Facebook page, their Instagram page, depending on who they are, knowing what they use, just to see what's up. I mean, especially like, I don't want to make a faux pas. What if they're calling me to tell me their dad died, and it's on their Facebook page, and I was, hey, how you doing, man? Love to see you. And you don't even know what's happening. Now, again, most people aren't going to hold you accountable for that, but how great is it when you're prepared, when you can say, oh my God, I saw about your dad. I was going to give you a shout, really sorry to hear that. I'm sure his memory will live with you forever. I mean, so to me, we have this huge advantage digitally. A lot of our conversations are digital, and you have a chance to think before you write. You have a chance to research before you reply. I am obsessive about this. I get tweets, I get other things. I go and look at people's pages. Again, not for every single thing I get, but when I see something that I can tell, or is just the kind of outreach where they might be asking for something, or something might have changed in their life. I don't know. I am 63. I like to say that people our age are actually much better on social media than young people. And it's not because they're better at the tools, because they're certainly not, or the platforms, or they're not digital natives. It's because we're better at relationships. We have many more. And that's only not because of our generation. It's because we're old, for God's sake. It's because we've been doing it for so many years. Repetition makes everything better. I can walk into a room and read it immediately. I couldn't do that when I was 30. I can walk into a room where there's an argument or confrontation, and in seconds, I can either say words that'll ramp up that conflict or take it down a notch, only because of years of experience. Again, I couldn't do that when I was younger. I was the guy that fired the damn thing up. So it's, to me, looking people in the eye digitally is making use of those tools that are at your fingertips, that are no excuse not to use. There's no excuse for you not to know. Like when someone reaches out to you, and this is another one. We all get these outreaches. It's really clear when someone's lost a job. Hey, I'd love to touch base with you. I need to ask you a few questions, or want to pick your brain. I hate that expression too. Please don't use it. Don't pick my brain. Tell me that you want to have a conversation with me. And right away, I know the first thing I do is go to their profile to see if they're still in their job, because I don't want again going, oh man, how's it going at Coca-Cola? Oh, they fired me 2 weeks ago. I want to, again, sometimes it's not available, but if it's there, I want to be available. And look, part of that is because part of my brand is looking people in the eye digitally and return on relationship. And I'm very responsive to content and to people. And I like to look at things and know what's going on. So I want to live up to, I want to walk the walk. But the main reason I do that is because that's me. I'm being Ted. Ted's been that way always. So, and it's worked for me. And that's also a part of return on relationship. You'll notice my books, Return on Relationship, Selling to the Digitally Connected Customer, all that was covered in Return on Relationship, but my books extended on them.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was thinking about how approachable you are, because I know how busy you are. And Esther knew you from the Irish side of things, and I've been over in Ireland. And so I thought, wow, it'd just be really cool if Ted could join us. But, he's so busy. But we've had some really good interchanges, and you really do walk the talk. I just have to say, Ted, you are who you say you are. You practice what you preach. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you for including me. And again, I'm sorry I couldn't be more involved in the Twitter chat, but unfortunately, like I said, I had a conflict, and this was fun. Love to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. We sure will have you again. Thank you so much.
Oh, and let me just say something to your audience. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm at Ted Rubin on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me everywhere. My email address is tedrubin@gmail.com. My phone number is 516-270-5511. I actually answered, and if I don't, my voicemail is not full, and I listen to them and return those calls.
Oh, awesome. Wow, you are the real deal. Ted, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure.